I don't think Shanks is a traitor. There has been this theory circulating around the One Piece community for a while now, and with the update of the latest chapter, a lot more people are jumping on the idea that Shanks is going to betray Luffy, while I, on the other hand, am jumping ship. I don't think Shanks is against Luffy. I never thought he was against Luffy, and if anything, he is the one who will guide Luffy to inherit both Roger's dream and become the Pirate King. For more context, let's discuss why people think Shanks is a traitor, and then I will break down the flaws within the theory. There are three main points that support the claim that Shanks is in fact a villain. The first point in question is how a Yonko like Shanks could lose his arm to a mere Sea King. You know, the same Sea King that Luffy one-shots at the beginning of the manga. This idea is used to portray that Shanks was merely fooling Luffy to be his friend, gaining his trust in order to deceive him. The second point in question is in relation to his conversation with the Gorosei, when Shanks announces to them that they need to discuss a certain pirate, and a lot of people think he's talking about Luffy. And finally, the last point in support of this theory comes from the latest chapter, where the Gorosei orders Cypherpole to go after Luffy's head. Many people speculate that this is due to Shanks' intervention. Without further context, I can understand why people would assume that there is a darker side of Shanks. But with a bit more information, this theory can actually be disproven. The first question I want to propose is, what would Shanks' motivation be? What would he have to gain from deceiving Luffy for so long? I mean, if he really wanted the One Piece, he definitely could have gone after it. So, what does Shanks want? Well, the answer is actually quite simple. Shanks wants balance. This leads into my first point of contention. Shanks losing his arm. I, like a lot of people, would agree that this was done on purpose, but not as an act of betrayal. Shanks is a balancer, an absolute neutral, and this theme is actually utilized quite frequently in a lot of Japanese literature. In the Monogatari series, there is this character named Oshino Meme, and just like Shanks, he serves the purpose as an absolute neutral. Someone who weighs both sides of the scales, rarely intervenes in conflict, and only participates when balance is threatened. Shanks tells Whitebeard that when he lost his arm, it was because he was betting on the new generation. The meaning behind these words is that losing his arm was rather inconsequential, and that's because in his eyes, Luffy will be the one to maintain balance and stability within the world. And when Shanks sees Rayleigh, he's very excited about the fact that Luffy was saying the exact same words as Roger. Shanks not only sees himself in Luffy, but he also sees Roger. This idea of balance would also explain why he stopped Kaido from approaching Marineford and why he stopped the war altogether. And that's because if further chaos assumed, the stability of the world would be threatened. That leads into my next point, Shanks' conversation with the Gorosei. The pirate Shanks actually wanted to talk about wasn't Luffy, but Blackbeard. Since the beginning of One Piece, Shanks' main enemy has always been Blackbeard. It's literally built into his character design with the scar on his left eye, which was caused by Blackbeard. Shanks even meets with Whitebeard and tells him to call off the hit on Blackbeard, a clear sign of warning that there is clearly more than meets the eye with exactly how dangerous he is. And finally, in Oden's flashback, we see a battle between the Roger Pirates and the Whitebeard Pirates. Buggy is the one who takes notice of Blackbeard's unstable mental health. The fact that he didn't sleep, the fact that the way he carried himself moved with darkness. The setup for Shanks and Blackbeard's animosity is present. Blackbeard also knows how to go under the radar. Each move he makes is meticulously calculated and thought out. And all in all, Blackbeard is severely underestimated. And finally, the last point of contention is the orders from the Gorosei to go after Luffy's head. This really has nothing to do with Shanks, but actually the overall power structure that is maintained in the One Piece world. There is a balance of power. The influence of Yonko is supposed to be equivalent to the 7 warlords and the Marines. However, right now in One Piece, we're in a very interesting situation, and the power structure is deteriorating at the seams. Under Fujitora's influence, he has made a sweeping declaration to wipe out the warlord system, and the Marines are following in suit. On top of that, Luffy is on the verge of defeating Kaido. If both Big Mom and Kaido are defeated, the political structure of the One Piece world collapses, and some other darker and dangerous force can overthrow the weakened system. And this is something the likes of Blackbeard can take advantage of. This threatens the idea of stability that the Gorosei are trying to administer. Shanks sees the big picture before him, understanding that the real threat isn't Luffy, but it's always been Blackbeard. However, since the spotlight is on Wano and Luffy is at the center stage, that's why the Gorosei are so adamant on taking him out now. But Blackbeard is just biding his time, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And when he does, it's going to be too little, too late.